This is Iris by the Goo Goo Dolls, a song that's spent more weeks in the charts than the letter C. A song so popular it's proven to be both a blessing and a curse to the band, as they often perform it at the end of their gigs so that the crowd don't leave halfway through. Today I'm going to be showing you how to set up your guitar so that it doesn't sound like shit, and that's a surprisingly difficult thing to do when you've got your guitar in B, D, 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 D tuning. It's one of my absolute favourite songs of all time, and once you've got your guitar into the right tuning, there are still a few more steps you need to take in order to avoid some pretty horrific side effects of the unusual guitar tuning. And that's what we're going to be getting into today. Now, the guitar tuning is the reason why if you look up any videos of the band playing live, you'll see John switching guitar in between each song, and you also won't be able to see him use any traditional chord shapes. This is because all Goo Goo Dolls songs are written in their own absolutely barbaric guitar tunings. But how did John come across this unusual way of writing songs? Why didn't he just adapt to the standard guitar tuning like most of us do? Well, as it turns out, he never actually learned how to play the guitar, at least not the way that most of us do. His mum would give him money to go and spend on guitar lessons, and he'd spend it on other things. So in order to convince his mum that he was attending guitar lessons and learning the guitar, he just twisted the tuning pegs into an entirely new tuning, and then however, if you try and play this song on a standard pair of guitar strings, you're going to run into some issues. Here's Marty playing Iris on a standard pair of guitar strings. See what I mean? Now, all of the notes that Marty's playing are exactly right, but there's this kind of quite obviously out of tune sound coming from the guitar. And there's actually a perfectly logical reason for this. You see, a standard guitar tuning has each string either 4 or 5 notes apart, and the thickness of each string is always made with that idea in mind. This is the reason guitar strings gradually get thinner as they go up. If the high E string was much thicker than it is, you'd find yourself snapping it before you're even able to tune it up to the right note. So naturally, when you take a standard set of strings and tune it down to low B, low D, middle D, high D and high D, the strings start to go out of tune. The thickness of the A string wasn't made to go 7 notes down to D. Meanwhile, the B string wasn't made to be tuned 3 notes up to D. This massive distance in some of the notes having to go up and some of the notes having to go down, rather than the thickness the string is prepared for, creates the out of tune sound. And you can hear how out of tune it is when you listen to Marty play this song. Take another listen. But this still leaves us with a few questions, and perhaps most obviously, what set of strings would you need to play the song without any issues? Well, here's producer Rob Cavallo talking about the original recording of Iris.
This guitar is not set up exactly like it was on the record. We actually, to take an A string and put it all the way down to D, we got a thicker string. You know, we might have even used an E string to put it there. So we used different gauges. And I also decided...
So nobody actually knows what exact strings would have been used on the original recording for sure. But I've found a tuning that works pretty much perfectly, and it involves buying 2 sets of heavy gauge acoustic strings of any brand you want. Here's a diagram to show you which strings out of the 2 sets you're going to put where. 2 low E strings at the bottom, 2 middle D strings in the middle, and 2 high E strings at the top. So this should clear up any issues you're having about playing Iris without it going out of tune. Also, use a thin pick. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more nerdy guitar stuff. And if you want to see my own cover of Iris I recorded with my friend Will, a link to that will be in the description. See you next time.